Wishing you all a super warm welcome to Connecting with Purpose, where we connect with winners and thought leaders from multiple sectors to provide you with a 360-degree view on purpose. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Our purpose, to inspire you to unlock your potential and optimize your performance and impact. And I'm super excited and can't think of a better way to do this to introduce our first guest, none other than Kevin Roberts, one of the godfathers of purpose. I've known Kevin for 12 years, and every engagement I've had with Kevin has been inspirational, insightful, and impactful. Kevin's 50-plus year career has had over 30 years as a CEO, including 20 years as the leader of the unstoppable Saatchi and Saatchi, a world leader in creative ideas that transform businesses for good. We'll share more about Kevin's bio in our notes to the episode, in addition to information in his incredible book, 64 Shots, Leadership in a Crazy World. But for now, I want to hand over to Kevin with my virtual rugby pass through the screen here so that Kevin can tell his own story. So, Kevin, nice, well done. Good technique there, Kevin. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us to kick off our first episode of Connecting with Purpose.
It's going to be a lot of fun, Mark. Let me know how I can help. Shoot away.
Here, this is it. So what I'd like to do is, rather than sort of go through your amazing career, as I said, we'll pop that in the notes, to get to the story behind it. And one of the ways I like to unpack that with people is thinking about magic moments. What are some magic moments you've had in your career that were kind of pivotal to your own development? And what was it about them that made them so special?
Yeah, I love the idea of magic moments, and frankly, coming on top, I'm going to mention this once, then we'll get rid of it. On top of this pandemic, I think one of the most important messages we've been given to a lot of leaders and so on is, man, make sure you live the magic moments every day. Get 3 every day, because there's a lot of stuff you can't control. We were not built to be locked up. We were built to be free. Okay, so this has been very challenging for all of us. Make sure you celebrate those magic moments. You remember them. Every night about 7 o'clock, my wife and I, we're in Arizona at the moment and have been for 15 months, right? We get together out in the Sonoran Desert here and we talk about the 3 magic moments. And I think it's a really important thing. Magic moments for me, number 1, getting kicked out of school. It's a magic moment. Captain of rugby, captain of cricket. They took my jersey back off me, kicked me out at 17. And that was a magic moment because it stopped me coasting, stopped me assuming, stopped me taking things for granted, and made me think, made me work, I never went to uni deliberately. And it was magic when I thought, wow, nothing's impossible, man. Now here we go. This is all up. I'm all in. I'm all up for it. That was a magic moment, Adversity and burning platforms, they can either harm you or they can really inspire you. I learned from there that whenever something goes wrong, as it inevitably will if you're pushing yourself to the max, inevitably optimism and hope can turn that round when you marry them with action. Boom. Magic moment for me was when I wrote my first ever personal purpose. 14 years old. I was inspired by an English teacher, Peter Sampson, whose friends, one of my closest friends to this very day. He was so a brilliant thinker. He inspired me to love language, to love storytelling. And he introduced me to the idea of personal purpose, an inspirational dream. And, he gave us our homework. Come back in 1 sentence and what's your inspirational dream? Not your goal, not your vision, all that stuff. No. What's your dream? And that was a magic moment for me. Boy, that I had permission to misbehave. I could dream. You didn't have to measure it. It was about reaching for the stars, not counting them. And I've had a personal purpose ever since then. Okay, I've changed it, obviously, and refined it and learned more, but that was a magic moment. A magic moment was meeting Mary Quant in a pub in London after I played rugby, and seeing and falling in like with her, and her mentoring me and offering me a job. And there I was to be the brand manager of Mary Kwan. I knew nothing about brands. I knew nothing about managers. I was 19. I knew nothing about fashion, nothing about cosmetics. I'd never been outside of England. And international brand manager for Mary Kwan Cosmetics. Because she said, well, you speak French and Spanish, and you're fast, and you're lively, and we don't know anything about it either. It was a magic moment. And I rocked up next day thinking, this is all nonsense. It's not going to happen. And there you were. You know, my first 3 bosses were all women. They were all unbelievably creative. And they all fed me and with food for the brain, food for the soul, food for the heart, and food because I don't have any money either.
Magic. And come on, let's just pick up on a couple of those, Kevin, because
yeah.
I was going to ask you a question about your personal purpose. And when you first discovered it, you've answered that when you were 14, but obviously it's changed a little bit over the years. But what are is there a component of that that's remained consistent as you've maybe applied it differently over the years?
Yeah. Yes, Mark, there is. I think the thing that's changed all the time is the dream, right? Because, you know, at 14, my dream was to be a millionaire because I was poor, I was working class, my folks had left. You're familiar with the story in the northwest of England. It's a story of many people, no? And I erroneously thought that he that had the money could make the choices, right? And that was it. So I couldn't wait to get out of school. So when they kicked me out, it was a godsend. And I couldn't wait to try to start to making money. Of course, you know, that money's only important when you don't have any. It's pretty important when you don't have any. But as soon as you got some, you realize, right, this is just an outcome. It's not the point, right? So I've changed my dream 4 or 5 times, probably every decade, as I've learned more and done that. What I haven't changed is my spirit. I've changed the way I express it, but not the spirit. And my spirit, as I express it today, is never out of the fight. Okay? And it's over the years, it's moved from I'm still standing to stand up and fight to nothing is impossible to now, over the last 2 years, no matter how old I am and what's going on in the world around me and the lack of leadership around me and the Muppets that are running countries, and the amazing social and political and moral issues we're facing, I'm just never out of the fight. It's like Yogi Berra, you know, the great philosopher. What did he say? It's not over till it's over, and then you go again. So I've never changed that. My character's fundamentally always been inspirational, creative, provocative, positive. None of that's changed. That's who I've been since I was 7. You know, I've been captain of every team I've ever played for. Never particularly been the best player. I mean, I captained my first game of rugby when I never played rugby. So, but I've been able to inspire others to be the best they can be, right? Not the best I could be. I just had that. And I've always been creative thanks to, I mean, I used to read 6 books a week from the library, 1 book a day. And I've loved words and I've loved poetry and I've loved music and I've loved solving problems and I've loved doing new stuff. That hasn't changed. I guess I've been driven by the 4 agreements since I read Don Miguel Ruiz's book in 1995. So that haven't changed for 15 years. You know, always do your best. Don't take things personally. Are so important. Never assume. You know, they're just very, very.
And be impeccable with your word.
And be impeccable with your word. Be just core to me. My focus has changed. My focus now is make happy choices. That wasn't my focus for many years because I was putting the business first, the family first, doing all that other kinds of stuff that I had to focus on. But now, make happy choices because I've got so many choices and so little time left that I don't want to waste any of my time on stuff that doesn't make me happy, because I figure a happy Kevin enables me to be more productive. Happy bunnies work harder than unhappy bunnies.
Yeah, and I've a couple of people have asked me sort of how younger people, early on in their career or still at college, and they haven't necessarily yet worked out their purpose. And it's don't sweat the small stuff at that point. To me, start with what you enjoy, build on it with what you're good at, embrace your passion, and you'll learn how to apply that, and you'll learn how to have an impact in the world with that as you go. And so, as you kind of discover your purpose really early. And actually started following it really early as well in a very non-traditional way. How are you able to empower or inspire, or both, your employees as you were sort of climbing up the corporate ladder to be able to live their purpose?
Yeah, I never thought about them as employees or people, and I never felt I was climbing up the corporate ladder, because my first job, at the age of 19, there was no ladder to climb. She just gave me a brand. Okay, the same thing with Gillette. 3 years later, they came and headhunted me, and gave me more than. And I was a general manager at P&G before I was 32. So I never did any of this climbing kind of stuff. I've really focused on inspiring. For me, it's about really, if you don't know where you're going, all roads will take you there. So everything starts with purpose. My first belief is everything starts with purpose. And that's never changed. I've always felt, right? I mean, if you go into Pep Guardiola's office, I do a lot of work there with coaching the coaches at the academy. And you go into Pep's office, and on the whiteboard, it's written, first you have to know what to do. Then you have to know how to do it. And we spend a lot of time not doing the what in business. It's execution, tactics. Just watch the way Paris Saint-Germain played against us 2 nights ago. It was just tactical, whereas City were just patient, absorb. We're stronger, we're faster, we play in a tougher league, we can handle this pressure, patience, and then come in the second half. Now, how we do that, the how comes second. It's the what that counts. So for me, it's always been about, let's all start with a shared purpose. And telling is not sharing. You've got to share it, right? You can't just put it up in the toilet or on a screen and expect people, okay. Telling them is not it. Let's share that purpose, share who we are, share what we believe, share what we're trying to do, and then we can figure out how to do it tactically any day of the week. So I've found the most important thing is great leaders create great teams. You know that from your sporting career in particular, right? And great leaders and great teams deserve and make each other, right? And one of the key things about great leadership is great leaders know how to attract top talent. They know where to find it, steal it. They know how to coach it, and they know how to make that top talent feel like a family and play like a team. And all that starts with shared purpose. And then what you do is play people in position. Despite what the All Blacks do every World Cup they lose, you do not play a fullback in the centre. You play a fullback at fullback and a centre at centre. And you play a flanker at flanker and a lock at lock. And we don't, and we lose. Right?
Well, I want to pick up on 2 things there. The first is, if everything starts with purpose and a shared purpose, and maybe the end is sort of sustaining peak performance, what's the journey? What's in the middle?
Yeah, I think it's a 5-step journey, really. For me, it's the 5 Ps. You start with purpose. You do what I was just talking about then, which is people. You got to get to that early as a startup, and you can't compromise. You can't compromise.
Right people in the right positions, doing the right things.
Playing position, Mark. Absolutely right. Okay, cannot compromise. So after people, you then get into practices. That you need to do 2 things at a world-changing level that other people don't do, right? So, I mean, when the All Black, Manchester City play their best football when they don't have the ball. They press and smother better than anybody else. Everybody thinks they pass a lot and they have possession. They have a 5-second rule at the club where you have to react, regain, recover in react, recover, regain in 5 seconds. Boom, 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 right? So you got to do one practice better than anything else. In business, you've got to have a project management system, RASCI. You've got to have a great change program, Blue Ocean, right? So you've got to get those practices embedded. Then from that P, you go into positivity, right? Because you know, it's like you've played top class rugby. When you have a positive environment, a positive with no fear, an environment of belief, confidence breeds confidence. Vince Lombardi, you know, winning's a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing, right? So get into that winning habit with confidence, with creativity. And then the final outcome, P, is performance, right? So purpose, people, practices, positivity, performance, and then do what you just say, sustain that to peak performance. Those are the steps.
So let's just take let's go back to the sporting field. Manchester City, the All Blacks you've referenced. I'm more familiar with the All Blacks, and I'm Manchester City because I'm not a round ball guy. So we won't get into a detailed discussion on that. But there's a lot of work and research and commentary around sports as a metaphor for life and sports as a metaphor for business. And for me, it's been more than the metaphor. It's the principles that I learned from rugby. I was actually able to apply in my personal and professional life and create some opportunities for some other people to apply them in their lives as well. And for those people that aren't so familiar with rugby, success in rugby is basically about gaining possession, going forward, creating some space with some support, building continuity, creating some pressure so that ultimately the competition folds and you get points, which is how you win. So I wanted to use one metaphor question and then one direct question, Kevin. So the metaphoric question is, translating this into business, you're on the pitch, you've just been passed the ball, the defence is pressing up quickly, you're in your own half, you're 2 points behind with 2 minutes to go. In a business sense, have you got some experiences where that's happened to you? And what did you do to win?
I mean, I think the first thing that you do in that great scenario, which the All Blacks have faced on many occasions and have inevitably stood up, is we were made for moments like that. You, me, we were made for moments like that. So belief, confidence, and the reason you're made is the 6 P's, right? Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance, right? Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. So you're prepared. You've been waiting for this. It's great. It's the end of the quarter. You know it's coming in business. You know what the targets are. You know the pressure's going to build. You know the competition's going to build, okay? I've been doing a lot of work with Dan Carter on his personal purpose, and he's written a fantastic personal purpose for his life after rugby. Okay, Dan was the greatest rugby player along with Richie McCaw of his generation, I think, right? But after rugby, you start again, right? But Dan talked about moments like that. And it's a moment that you will share in business. And he talks about walking towards pressure. And those words are really important in business, right? You have to walk, not run. You have to have, as Grant Fox said to me once, fire in the belly, ice in the mind to be in business. Fire in the belly, ice in the mind, not the other way around. Leaders have got to demonstrate calm, hope, always against a purpose. We don't do anything that is not on purpose. Then you walk, and you walk which way? We don't have fight or flight options, okay? Those are instincts. No. We walk towards the pressure. Why? Because we want to control that pressure. We want to not let the pressure come to us where it will develop a head of steam. We prepare for that pressure. Pressure is a privilege. Stress is really bad, but pressure is a privilege. We walk towards that pressure in business. We wrote a book, as you know, 20 years ago called Peak Performance Lessons from the World's Sporting Teams, and where we really understood purpose, right? And we looked at the Chicago Bulls during the Last Dance time. We were in those dressing rooms with Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Jackson, and co. We looked at the All Blacks. We looked at US women's soccer, okay? We looked at the Yankees, and we looked at the Braves because they've been around a long time, okay? We looked at Team New Zealand and all these places. I came to the conclusion that business leadership was much more difficult than sports leadership. Sports is easy. You know exactly who the enemy is. Exactly who it is. You know the competition. Paris Saint-Germain know everything about Man City. Man City know everything about Paris Saint-Germain. It's all on tape. We've analyzed. We have more data in sports than you could remotely. We have more data than Microsoft and Apple have now electronically, okay? You know exactly when you have to play. It's Saturday, 5 o'clock. There are rules, for God's sake, Mark. We have laws.
And you get to prepare all week for it.
We have a referee. It's so easy, okay? And it's black and white. You win, you lose. And it's immediate. Business. There are no rules. There are no referees. You have no idea who the competition are tomorrow. No idea. They don't have the same data that you got. Business is much more complex. In sport, you have 50 elite athletes. In businesses, you have to have, I think there are three things. You have to have finders, minders, and grinders. You have the same in rugby, actually. Finders, minders, and grinders. And those people need, in a business, they need different practices, different motivation. Sports as a metaphor is very powerful, but I'm not sure it engages everyone. You know, not all cultures. For instance, cricket not for you, but for Americans is kind of difficult. Basketball for India is sort of difficult to understand. Netball, you have to have played, you know, in the British Commonwealth. Ice hockey, field hockey, they're two different kind of things. So it's a good metaphor, but business has more art and science than sport.
Well, and I think the other thing is, you wrote about in 64 Shots, Leadership in a Crazy World, which is your last book, and it's awesome. I've really enjoyed it, and I haven't read the whole thing, as you know. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but I've pulled out tons of stuff because there is 64 shots, and maybe I've read 32 of them, so I'm halfway there. But one of the things you talk about that in there is, which is applicable to sports, but also I think to arts and creative pursuits, is flow. And flow, which is a brilliant concept, not just for happiness, but also just for performance, and it ties very closely to purpose. Is you can see it easily in sports, and you can see it easily in creative pursuits. How do you instill a culture that embraces flow in the workplace?
I think you're really spot on, right? Because you know when you're in flow, you know when your marriage is in flow, you know when you're in flow when you're in the pub, you know when you're in flow when you're playing rugby, right? It's when your heart, your brain, and your body are all in effortless sync. In advertising, it used to happen every time we pitched a new client, because you forget everything else. It's just a single-minded focus. Everybody's together. The passion is high. The stakes are high. The reward is clear. It's an X amount of time. It's finite. And the flow, you get into this flow. The trick is to, you can't be in flow 100% of the time. It's impossible. In games, you have to suffer. Man City suffered for 45 minutes against Paris Saint-Germain. You suffer, you soak it up, and then you get into a flow zone. How do you create an environment for flow? I mean, the first thing is you explain to everybody what flow is, and you know what that is, right? It's everybody hitting peak performance simultaneously in pursuit of the inspirational purpose. That's what flow is, right? And you know you're in it because time passes quickly and slowly all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? You just got more time, but it's happening faster, and you know that, right? So how do you do it? The first thing you do is you explain to people what flow is, and you show them what it is, and you can do that beautifully, right? The second thing that you do is that you hire people with flow personalities. People who are decisive, who are courageous, who are progressive. You do not hire cynics, contrarians, people who think they're the smart. I mean, if smartest guys in the room, I've never had a lot of joy with them, right? If you're the smartest guy in the room, Mark, you're in the wrong room, right? So
it's not that hard. Not that hard for me, Kevin.
Yeah, for you, it's and for me too, right? And that's actually a competitive advantage that we both have, frankly, because we're learning all the time. Because you don't learn very much when you're talking. So hire people with flow personalities. Second, make sure you have these practices I talked about, Blue Ocean, where you eliminate, reduce, raise, and create. You stop all the stuff that you should not be doing, all the idiot email trails, the terrible meetings that go on and on and on, the circulation list, the places, the travel you shouldn't be doing, right? Right. So you create a place where all you do is stuff that matters, right? Stuff that matters. You know when to push, when to pull, when to move, when to stay static. So eliminate 40% of the crap that is the business of doing business through Blue Ocean. The next thing you do is have a project management rasket where everybody knows their job, right? So you don't have confusion. You don't have people who want to know, need to know. You have hard and fast rules. Who's responsible for the project? Who's the approver? Who's going to do the work, the S? Who do you have to consult? Who do you have to inform? Then sprinkle on the positivity. So those 5 P's I gave you at the beginning, Mark, you know, from purpose through to people, get the right people, through to practices, through to positivity. Have those, and you've got everything you need to create flow. And then just we do 2 questionnaires really on staying in tune and getting the rhythm. And it's like in a band, you know, when does the band flow? So it's when you're all tuned up and you're in tune, and when you got the rhythm.
And you've said recently, Tom, it's super vocal. Everything's just moving so fast. It's so crazy. There's so many polar opposite things that you're always having to deal with. How does purpose play a role day to day in such a crazy world in helping to keep people focused on what matters?
It's the single thing that makes sense of it. You have purpose on a page, not a vision statement, not all this stuff. Purpose on a page, right? We talk about it all the time with startups, with new people, with businesses, companies. It helps you make decisions, because if your character's to be uncompromising, there you go. Ergo ipso facto, you don't compromise on this call, so stop discussing it. This is what we think is the right thing to do. Yes, it's not the profitable thing to do. We don't care. We do the right thing when no one's looking, because that's what it says here. And it says here, adapt, improvise, overcome. You haven't adapted to the new world. You've not improvised. You want the same solution to a different problem. You're not going to win. Back to purpose.
Yeah.
It's not something you write and you put down. I use it every day, all day, for my decision making in a VUCA world. It's a framework. It's freedom within a framework. So the framework is the what and the freedom's the how. But don't discuss the what. The what's right here.
Yeah, and I suppose the combination of those is why as well. Right? So why does this matter, right? Because what you're doing is really important because of why it matters, because of the impact it has on people, on the environment, or whatever. but how you do it's equally important. I mean, I think one of the first things I learned in my professional career was if you don't ask, you don't get. But also, how you ask is very important.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of a similar
And
thing.
if you're a leader now, Mark, coming out of this pandemic, you've got to have two things. You've got to be caring and demanding. You've got to be caring about your people because we're all beat up, right? We've had enough disruption to last us for the next 5 years. Okay, we're sick of it all, man. Our emotions are raw. We've all got a story, and it's all pretty sad. We've all missed things. We've missed people. We've missed events. I mean, imagine if you're living in India today or wherever. So we've got to be caring. Yeah, okay, but that's not good enough. We got to be demanding of ourselves, demanding of our people. We've all got to do more with less. And to be demanding, right, you can't just be brutal because people are hurting. So yes, be demanding in our standards, but be caring in our delivery.
Yeah, and it's an and not an or, and
yes.
it's I think it's embracing those contradictions, which because they're a reality, and we have to we have to do that. Just like it's not necessarily about balance, which is things on opposite sides. It's about integration and how you bring them together.
It is, Mark, you're spot on. Balance is such a useless word. Work-life balance, it's a piece of nonsense because balance implies compromise. The best wines are not very well balanced. The best wines are a brilliant blend. So I think integration is too corporate for me, but it's the right idea, right? But I think it's about blend. We've got to blend caring and demanding. We've got to blend our family and our friends with our work. So we've got to put the Cabernet Sauvignon, the Merlot, and the Cabernet Franc in a beautiful blend, and out pops Chateau Lafite, Chateau Latour. Not a very balanced, compromised wine. You want to be the best husband you can be. I know you want to be the best father. You wanted to be the best rugby player. Now you want to be the best inspirational leader to people. No compromise, no balance. What you've got to do is eliminate stuff that is useless.
Yeah,
right? Blue ocean your own life, right? So that you unlevel the playing field, so you're not doing the mundane, average nonsense.
Yeah, the not to do list is as important, if not
absolutely.
more, than the to dos. So
look at the clutter list. Look at the clutter list. Everybody's house, they've got too many books in them, you included, right? You've got too many pictures, too many cups and saucers,
too many toys,
right? Too much furniture, too many toys, too many screens. Get rid of all that crap, and focus on what's important that makes you happy.
Yeah, no, and that's a core part of our work is definitely helping people focus on what matters. And Kevin, I've loved our chat. We've actually got a couple of last questions. One's a little bit out there, one's pretty straightforward. But the first one is, if you could imagine an imaginary ideal day for you and pick 3 purpose-driven heroes for you, and it doesn't matter whether they're alive, deceased, fictional, real. What would be 3 characters or 3 people that you think just are just purpose-driven heroes? Like they're people that just embody their purpose, and that you would spend a day with. And what would you do with them?
Mary Quant was my first heroine, and she embodied creativity and nothing is impossible and provocation and we've stayed friends for 50 years. And she helped launch Love Marks in Giorgio Armani's private home in Milan, and she set all that up and she spoke about it. Mary, even today, I just had lunch with her at Soho House. Her mind is inspirational in terms of, if you only hang out with people like you're sort of missing the point, right? So business heroes, business books, yada yada yada, man. That's kind of mundane, really. So I think Mary is for me And this idea of don't meet your heroes, that's nonsense, right? I mean, my best experiences of meeting my heroes. So she's one. They can be alive or dead.
Or deceased, or even fictional, if you like.
Okay, so I would love to have met President Kennedy, because when I was a kid, I'm a product of the 60s. I think what he did in terms of facing down Khrushchev and Cuba, and in having a dream to put people on the moon, for me, he made politics sexy. He made everything sexy. He made the whole idea of leadership become real to me. So I would love to have the chance to have been part of that. And then it's Leonard Cohen, who I've worshipped again since the 60s. I have all his poetry, all his album. I go to Hydra every year and pay homage to his home. And I was a lousy poet, and he was a lousy singer, but he became a brilliant storyteller. So I think Leonard, Mary, President Kennedy, that. And what would I do with them? I'd ask them questions. I'd ask them to tell me stories.
Big long list. Yeah. What a brilliant day.
Yeah,
I love it.
What a brilliant day.
I love it. I love it.
That now.
All right. No, I love it.
Because I can do that, right? I can do that. Like, you can go onto YouTube. I can put that day together, right? Because
basically,
YouTube,
yeah. You can't ask the questions, but you can.
No.
You can probably try to find some answers to the questions.
Yeah, I could get. Yeah. I'm going to do that. That's a very cool thing to think about, Mark. Thank you for that.
No worries. Well, let's bring it back to you. We got quickfire questions, which is based on our purpose fused formula, which is just how we simplify purpose for individuals when they're thinking about it, which is passion plus application plus impact. So the question is, if you were to summarize for you in one word,
hold on, passion
plus application plus impact.
And that equals what?
Purpose.
Purpose. Okay.
So if you were to summarize in one word or up to one sentence for each of those, what's your driving passion, how you are applying it in a word or a sentence, and the impact that it has on the world, what would those 3 words or 3 short sentences be for you?
Everything starts with purpose, right? So to do that, I can answer that all 3 in the same sentence.
100%.
Which is my inspirational dream. My inspirational dream is to inspire everyone I touch to be the best they can be. That's my dream.
There you go.
And that is my passion. I do it through talking, writing, sharing, as I've just shared with you. And the impact, I do things like this. So there you go. My personal purpose, to inspire everyone I touch to be the best they can be.
Magic. I love it. Well, that's a perfect way to end with your purpose statement there, Kevin. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing insights with us today. Just the absolutely fantastic, brilliant start to connecting with purpose. And we really appreciate your time. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And the best of luck with your absolutely noble venture.
Thank you, Kevin. Cheers.